A deep dive into the hidden stories, sacrifices, and secrets behind one of cinema's greatest films. Number 20. The green code rain was made from a sushi cookbook. Yeah, The Matrix's most iconic visual, the cascading green code, was sourced from designer Simon Whitley's wife's sushi cookbook. He scanned the characters, then reversed and distorted them to create the illusion of looking from the other side of his screen. Instead of standard computer fonts, the team chose Japanese katakana, Latin letters, and Chinese characters so the rain would feel alive and chaotic rather than sterile. The Wachowskis insisted it has to look like everyday code, not distant science fiction. Number 19. The passport expiration date was 9/11/2001 by pure coincidence. In Neo's interrogation scene, Agent Smith's computer shows Thomas Anderson's passport expiring on September 11, 2001. When the film released in 1999, it was the throwaway prop detail. After the 2001 attacks, it ignited a wave of conspiracy theories. The truth? The props department simply needed a plausible near-future date. "We didn't think much about it," a set designer said. "We just wanted it to look real." That accidental detail became one of the strangest Easter eggs in cinema history. Number 18. Drunken boxing was a hidden Easter egg for martial arts fans. When Neo's skills are uploaded in The Matrix, the screen briefly flashes Drunken Fist, the staggering style made famous by Jackie Chan. Choreographer Yun Woo Ping, who worked with Chan on Drunken Master, slipped it in as a quiet tribute. "I recognized it immediately," one fan recalled. "My heart beat faster because of the feeling of being seen." The Wachowskis wanted to honor Hong Kong martial arts heritage, fusing it with future technology to create a unique East-West blend. Number 17. The green color palette was designed to make you uneasy. The sickly green tint to the Matrix world was a deliberate psychological choice. Cinematographer Bill Pope drew inspiration from the phosphor glow of 1980 CRT monitors, a shade that makes the brain slightly uncomfortable, like looking at living code. When characters entered the real world, warm tones took over, yellows, oranges, reds, to hammer home the contrast between artificiality and reality without a word of dialogue. Number 16. Neo constantly asked questions. 44 of his first 80 lines were questions. In the first 45 minutes of the film, 44 of Neo's roughly 80 lines are questions. What is the Matrix? Why do my eyes hurt? What truth? The Wachowskis designed him as a deliberate surrogate for the audience. Warner Brothers encouraged it. "We were afraid the audience would get lost if Neo didn't ask for them," a producer recalled. When Neo finally stops questioning, it signals his awakening, a quiet structural device that pulls viewers from confusion to enlightenment alongside him. Number 15. The lobby shootout used real guns and real explosives. The lobby scene's jaw-dropping realism came from actual blank-loaded firearms and concrete pillars pre-drilled with controlled explosives. Shell casings, shattered concrete, and smoke were all real. "We had to calculate every blank round precisely because a slight deviation could hit a real person," a technician recalled. Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss trained in two-handed shooting themselves, even as the recoil left their hands numb. "We wanted the audience to feel the weight of every shot, not effects," said the Wachowskis. Number 14. The Matrix reused the Dark City film set. Much of The Matrix's rain-soaked Gothic cityscape was borrowed directly from the set of Dark City from 1998, another Warner Brothers sci-fi film. "We went to see the Dark City set after they wrapped and everything was still intact. Dark streets, concrete high-rises," a production designer recalled. "Just add artificial rain and green neon lights, and it fit immediately." The coincidence ran deeper. Both films explore simulated reality and mind control, making the shared visual language feel almost inevitable. Number 13. The Wachowskis drew 600-plus pages of storyboards before filming a single frame. Every camera angle, lighting choice, actor position, and bullet time effect was hand-drawn in a 600-page storyboard before production began. When pitching to Warner Brothers, the directors brought this visual Bible alongside the script. "It was like a visual novel," a producer recalled. "We'd never seen anyone do storyboards that detailed. On set, it became a compass. Actors knew their angles. Visual effects artists worked frame by frame, and editors cut without deviation. There was no room for improvisation, Lana Wachowski said. Number 12. The character Switch was originally transgender, and Warner Brothers killed it. In the original script, Switch was male in the real world but female inside the Matrix, the name referring both to switching realities and to gender transition. Warner Brothers demanded the idea be scrapped entirely. Hollywood was not ready for transgender themes, even as metaphor, a producer recalled. When Lana and Lily Wachowski later came out publicly, the subtext became unmistakable. Lily shared, "The Matrix is a story about dysphoria, about choosing the red pill to live truthfully as yourself." Switch remains a personal whisper, cut from the screen, but not from the film's soul. Number 11. Keanu Reeves voluntarily shared millions of his earnings with the visual effects crew. He earned around $10 million for the first film, but after learning that the visual effects team, the people who built Bullet Time and the Code Rain, were working hundreds of overtime hours for inadequate pay, he voluntarily shared his back-end profits with them and the costume department. Estimates put this total in the tens of millions of dollars. "Without them, there is no film," he said simply. "They deserve it." It remains one of Hollywood's rare acts of quiet generosity. Number 10. The original ending was hopeless. Neo dies, the Matrix wins. The Wachowskis originally wrote an ending where Neo truly dies. Trinity fails to save him, and the Matrix wins completely. Humanity stays enslaved. There is no the one. Test audiences were furious. They felt betrayed, as if the film had just punched them in the face, a producer recalled. Warner Brothers refused to release it, forcing a rewrite. Neo lives, becomes the one, saves the world. The compromise launched a franchise, but the original ending, consistent with Baudrillard's philosophy that illusion can never truly be broken, haunts fans to this day. Number 9. Warner Brothers nearly canceled the film midway through production. When studio executives saw early test footage, unfinished bullet time, the overwhelming green tint, philosophy fused with martial arts, they panicked. "What kind of a film is this? It's too strange," they whispered. The budget had overrun and failure seemed likely. Producer Joel Silver stepped in. "I told them, trust these directors. They're creating something that has never existed before." The pressure forced the Wachowskis to tighten the script and sharpen the action. "We almost lost everything," a producer recalled, but that pressure is what made the film perfect. Number 8. The subway station scene was filmed in a genuinely hazardous location. The crew filmed the subway fight in a real abandoned Sydney station. Damp, rat-infested, covered in mold, with air so stale the cast and crew needed extra vaccinations beforehand. Many developed allergic dermatitis. Keanu Reeves nearly fainted from oxygen deprivation during long takes. Lawrence Fishburne described it as filming in a living tomb. Every sloshing footstep, labored breath, and flickering light in that scene was real. No effects needed. Number 7. The Matrix almost received an NC-17 rating. The MPAA was alarmed by the pod escape sequence. Metal tubes, piercing flesh, red slime, cold bodily violation. "Is this an R film or NC-17?" a censor asked in the screening room. The core idea, you don't own your own body, was deemed too close to medical torture and sexual violation. To avoid commercial suicide, the Wachowskis were forced to shorten the scene, blur biological details, and lean harder into philosophy. The film earned itself an R rating, but audiences still left the theater unsettled. Not by the gunfire, but by the quiet dread that their bodies might not belong to them. Number 6. The cast suffered over 600 injuries during filming. 4 months of training under Yuen Wu-ping involved wire work, high falls, and blank rounds fired at close range. Carrie Ann Moss broke her ankle practicing the scorpion kick and hid it for fear of being replaced. Hugo Weaving needed hip surgery. Stunt double Chad Stileski broke ribs, dislocated his shoulder, and damaged his knee. Keanu Reeves trained through all of it despite his broken neck. There were times when the directors reduced the danger, a crew member recalled. Not because of censorship, but because they were afraid of losing someone. Number 5. Neo's awakening scene was filmed last after Keanu starved himself. The pod awakening was shot after the rest of the film wrapped, requiring Keanu to lose enough weight to look like a body wasted by decades of machine captivity. He followed a near-starvation diet in the final weeks. Keanu arrived on set gaunt, with sunken eyes and pale skin. We almost didn't recognize him, a crew member recalled. He lay in real gelatin and water slime, genuinely shaking from the cold. We wanted a stark contrast, like being born a second time in hell, Lana Wachowski said. The panic and coughing weren't acted. Number 4. The naked Neo scene was originally almost a full minute long and traumatized test audiences. The raw footage of Neo being extracted from his pod ran nearly 1 minute, far longer than the seconds that made it onto screen. He convulsed, coughed, gasped, eyes wide and silent. It was like a reverse birth or a victim whose body had been violated for a long time, an editor recalled. At 1998 test screenings, viewers turned away, burst into tears, or left the theater entirely. Warner Brothers demanded cuts. "I was lying in real slime so cold I went numb," Keanu said. "The shaking was real, not acting." The full version was locked away, seen by almost no one. Number 3. The original Matrix concept was so dark, Warner Brothers forced a total rewrite. The Wachowskis' first draft was far more disturbing than anything that reached screens. In it, the Matrix didn't just harvest human energy, it exploited the nervous system, extracting fear, joy, and sexual desire. Humans existed in a half-dreaming state of continuous mental torture. It was no longer science fiction, but a form of horrifying bodily and mental violation, a producer recalled. Warner Brothers demanded wholesale cuts, calling it too close to sexual exploitation and neural torture. The Wachowskis were forced to redirect the focus to philosophy and action, softening what had been, at its core, a horror film about absolute enslavement. Number 2. Keanu Reeves filmed almost the entire movie with a broken neck. Months before production, Keanu had a motorcycle accident that damaged 2 cervical vertebrae. Doctors warned that any impact could cause paralysis. He told no one, trained 6 hours a day in martial arts, and performed most of his own stunts, including a real collision with a concrete pillar that almost knocked him unconscious. The injury is why Neo fights almost entirely with his hands. Kicking was too dangerous. If Keanu had been injured more seriously, the film would have stopped entirely, the Wachowskis admitted. That hidden sacrifice quietly shaped Neo's entire fighting identity. And finally, at number 1, Morpheus's iconic sunglasses existed because Lawrence Fishburne couldn't sleep. The most recognizable accessory in the film, worn even in darkness, even indoors, was born from pure exhaustion. Larry was suffering from severe insomnia during production, leaving his eyes so bloodshot that no makeup could hide it. "We tried every solution," a crew member said, but the tiredness was still obvious. The Wachowskis' fix? Sunglasses all the time, everywhere. Fishburne later laughed, "I wore sunglasses because I couldn't sleep. Who knew it would become an icon?" What started as a cover-up became the defining visual of one of cinema's great mentors. Mysterious, watchful, and seemingly all-knowing.